New tonight, they help people in their time of need, and tonight they're asking for you to join them. The Roanoke Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol is looking to add more cadets and adult members to their ranks. They do emergency services and 90% of the inland search and rescue operations. 10 News flew along with one of the teens in the cadet program getting comfortable behind the yoke. It's one of the unique aspects of CAP's cadet program. Although it's not all flying, cadets learn leadership, character development, and aerospace education as well.
I really like the aspect that it's emergency services, disaster relief. I wanted to learn more about that.
One of the things we want to be able to do within our emergency services portion is to be able to, at any time of the day, any day of the week, to be able to field an air crew who can go out and do the search and rescue mission, or a ground team who can do the ground search mission.
There's an open house Monday night from 7 until 9 at the Blue Ridge Autism and Achievement Center in Roanoke to learn how to get involved.